Spokane Valley could become a sanctuary city of a different
Councilman
kind.
Caleb Collier says that this
I'm proposing that the city of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, what you can do about it with Colonel Rob Maness. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we drive morality and religion over tolerance and apathy. And I'm your host, Caleb Collier, once again, your favorite far-right shock jock, and the show that talks about politics and religion. Jesus Christ is our referee, so it's always nice and clean. Real quick, point you to the website, churchandstate.media. Fill out this form for us. Get our newsletter. Bypass all the censorship. We can send you the shows directly. And also, I personally call every single person who fills this out. So if you want to talk to me, there's your chance. Also, check out the most recent episodes. We continue to bring on really interesting guests. That's a phenomenal one. I know a lot of you experienced the tyranny of COVID in America. You have no idea what Australia faced. And I was joined by Tue-Fri there, who laid it all out. The guy's a hero in my book. Also, check out the featured guest page. We've had some incredible people over the years that we've been doing this. And with every single one of those, just click on the name. It'll bring you right to the episode. Also, please do some shopping with us. Check out the affiliate page. We got some incredible companies that I personally use. I trust these guys. And with every single one of those, if you use the promo code Church and State, many of them you'll get a discount, but all of them you'll be helping to support us. And speaking of support, once again, hit the donate button for us. We're already part of NRBTV. We're part of Prepper Broadcasting Network, Newscasters, Your News, Faith and Freedom Television. I mean, there's a lot that we're a part of. Also, that national syndication on AM/FM radio, which is dropping, I think next week actually is when that starts. So obviously that takes money, ladies and gentlemen, and we need help. So any amount that you can throw our way, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever it looks like, we'll definitely put it to good use. Lastly, if you want to get a hold of us, Church and State 1776 at proton.me. With that, let's go ahead and start this show. Now, I'm pleased to bring to you Colonel Rob Maness. He is an incredible individual, served obviously in the military, United States Air Force, retired. He's a decorated combat veteran and dynamic leader. He's the author of What You Can Do About It, a book that I'm really excited to talk with him about because he nails the problem within the greater conservative movement, and I think you're going to be entertained. Colonel, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, Caleb. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And love the name of this show.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, it's we got to get the church more involved and stop allowing the state to dictate what's going on in the church.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So your book, What You Can Do About It, I love this premise, and I love that in the book you're talking about the fact that the left, well, they just do better than we do as far as organizing, getting their base to get out there and actually make changes. Now, obviously, these are changes that we don't want to see in the United States, but the conservatives, the commentators, we do a lot of rage bait. You know, we get people kind of angry about stuff, but there's no follow through.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, and that's why I wrote the book. I came into the political arena after I retired. I was only out of the Air Force 2 years. And I realized, and I ran for U.S. Senate as a Republican. I've been a Republican my whole life. And when I saw how the establishment consultants were, they tried to limit me from going to college campuses. And this was at a time when Charlie Kirk was still, I think he was 19 years old. And I found out about him, and I held him up as an example. I'm like, look, this guy is going to college campuses, and he is more conservative than most of the Republicans in office today, and he speaks my language because we were very much aligned and still are on the ideas on what we think this country is and ought to be going forward. And the Republicans were like, no, sir, they're not going to talk to you. And by the way, you don't know how to talk to people that are under the age of 25. And I looked them in the eye, and I had just left command of 3,000 people. And over 85% of those people were between the ages of 17 and 23. I said, look, but I know exactly how to talk to these people. I mean, I was paid not until too long ago to inspire them to go die for their country if they needed to, if we needed them to, you know. So I understand these folks, and I understand what they not just want to hear, but how they hear and what they're listening to and those kinds of things. And my experience went from there. I was able to find people like Andy Sarabian is one. Andy has worked for me a couple of times, but Andy found me through Tea Party Express. And Andy Sarabian, if you don't know who he is, he worked in Trump's war room after he left my U.S. Senate campaign in my second one in 2016. He went to Trump's war room and helped Steve Bannon in the war room. Eventually, he and Steve became special assistants to the president that first term. But then he worked for, and still does work for, I believe, J.D. Vance on the political side, not as the VP part. And he's just a great American, Armenian guy that understands. He introduced me to the term zeitgeist, and he said, "Sir, you're on the zeitgeist." And I'm like, "What the heck is that?" And he explained it to me that the men and women of America in their 20s are expectant of some things. One, to get the border security and immigration challenge under control. Because it was, even in 2013 when we started my first Senate campaign, it was out of control already. Okay, that was my number one plank. Number two was stop the endless war policy. Stop the endless war policy. And number three was of my top three was achieve energy independence. We have enough energy in this country to be independent and be exporters of energy and not have to worry about places like the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, those were the big three things. And he said, you are on what the young American people wanted. And what we found out was that the older American people were on the same zeitgeist, Caleb. It was amazing. You know, some people called me a libertarian Republican. I don't know that I agree with that. Here's what I do agree with, though. America was founded on and because of individual liberty and what was discovered through the Enlightenment and authors like Locke and those kind of folks, that human beings have inherent and natural rights. And that's what I believe in. You know, I'm so pleased to see the 250th celebration of the Declaration of Independence and to get it into the minds of this generation of Americans, from the kids to the young adults to even some of the older adults, as a forefront, as a topic point, because it's critically important that our people understand what in that document and that it still applies today. And if we don't insist that it applies today and is applied to the Constitution that was created by many of the same people that wrote that document, but it was recreated from that document, if we don't have an understanding of it, then the coming generations will lose the Republic of the United States more than we've even already lost a lot of it now. And there's no denying, I'm not going to, I don't live in a, behind rose-colored glasses. There's no denying we've lost large parts of our republic because of ill-advised changes we made to the Constitution, like the federal income tax and changing the way U.S. senators are elected, away from state legislators to having them voted for. Those changes, while they may have been sold as good, going to make you more prosperous, have devastated the country and resulted in what you see today with a bureaucracy that is so vast and so powerful that the president, the one position in the Constitution that is elected by all the states, cannot control his bureaucracy. And I just wrote an article about it, and that's part of what this book is about. You know, because even as you and I sit here right now, there's a young American out there that's thinking, man, I can't afford to buy a house. I went to college and now I'm $250,000 in debt, and I got this doggone feminist critical theory degree that I was talked into by my girlfriend. And I'm going to be doing perpetual Uber Eats and Lyft driving and that kind of stuff. And they don't think, and there's not a darn thing I can do about it. Oh, that's wrong.
That is wrong.
That is
Absolutely.
wrong. Matter of fact, the title of the book is not the first title I came up with. The first title I came up with was the question that I get asked whether it's being at a commander's call with my troops or in a civilian town hall as a politician trying to run for office or as a person that is elected. I'm in a county elected level seat a couple of terms. But what's the question they ask when they see an issue or we're talking about an issue that's got everybody energized? Every American, and I don't mean a person that's born here. I mean people that are either born here or come here and become American citizens because they buy into the Declaration of Independence ideas. Okay, that's it. That's what that means to be an American. I call them Americanists that practice Americanism in the book. And I picked that term up from a good friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago suddenly, named Dennis Haw, who was also an Air Force officer at one point. But I put that in the book because every American asks this question when we're talking about an issue that's got everybody energized or angry. Well, what can I do about it? It's in our DNA, you know. And the place, you know, we talked before the show. I was born in Tacoma, Washington, but my mom and daddy are from West Tennessee. And they both come from 12-kid families. One was on the farming side, the other was on the kind of an entrepreneurial side. He was also a deputy sheriff, too. Got some interesting stories that my granny used to tell us. But there were 12 kids. So my aunts and uncles, my dad was in the Air Force, but he made sure he took us back. You get 30 days of leave in the military, and he would take us back to Tennessee twice a year, once at Christmas time and once in the summertime for 2-week periods. And our aunts and uncles would take us into their homes, and we'd stay. I had 3 brothers, so there's 4 of us little guys running around being monstered. Played a lot of cowboys and Indians and G.I. Joe, that kind of good American things. You know, Davy Crockett. And I mentioned David Crockett in the book because he was a congressman from West Tennessee. And when I was about
incredible story there.
When I was about 6, my uncle Buddy, who was my dad's youngest living brother, he was also a high school teacher and coach, public high school teacher and football and baseball and basketball coach. They didn't have kids at the time, so they always took me in to their house, and I stayed with them almost the entire time. But he would take me around, and I tell this story in the book. He would take me around to places and just talk from the perspective of a kid that grew up in West Tennessee on a cotton farm, picking cotton for his daddy, and hunting. You know, I mean, my grandpa's farmhouse. They had a back room that they built onto it. It was just a big room that opened out into the back of the house, so you could see the corn crib and the pig, the hog pen, and all that stuff right out the back door. But all us kids stayed there and slept on the floor when we would go home. And there were like 15 or 20 of us at any given time. But there was a rifle hanging above the door, and it was always loaded. It was a pump 22 rifle. Had a barrel magazine or a magazine in the butt of the rifle that you loaded vertically. Anyway, and my grandfather taught us, and my uncles and aunts always taught us. I mean, you're from the background of the United States of America that started in the East and migrated to the West in the South. And so we grew up essentially still as frontier kids, even in the 1960s. Being taught by these people and their parents that were frontier kids. So my uncle told me this story about Crockett. You know, Crockett had been kicked out of Congress twice because he disagreed with the president, Andrew Jackson, who's another guy that I write about in the book a little bit. You know, because he disagreed with the president on the forced movement of the Cherokee over the Trail of Tears out to the west. And I probably would have disagreed with that too. You know, but the second time they did it, Crockett went to the courthouse square just before he went to Texas, and became a hero in the Alamo. And he got all of the people that voted him out of office the second time together. And he said, y'all can all go to hell. I'm going to Texas. But the reason why that story is important is because it matches the question. And supports what my premise that this is in America's DNA, that when we get mad about something or get excited about an issue, we ask ourselves the question first, what can I do about it? And I think we've lost a little bit about that, and I saw that when I came into the political arena, and I spent several years thinking about this book because people were bugging me to write a biography, and I didn't want to really write a biography. I wanted to write a book that people could actually use and pass around, and they get something out of it, but still.
Sure. So let's get into the book, sir, because I so agree with your take on what we see in currently in America. Regardless of the factions, there's people that are looking for something different. They're kind of tired of the establishment, both on the left and the right. And as an example, I can point to the rise of the so-called democratic socialists of America. They were having a lot of victories. We just had primaries where we saw victories with these guys. Obviously, on the left, they're getting tired of the establishment Democrat side. Now they're looking to socialism as the cure. It is not. You and I would both agree this is not going to go well for America.
It's the suicide pill, actually.
It really is. But on the right, there's a lot of disillusionment as well. And I talk to a lot of people because I'm doing this show 5 days a week. There's a lot of people that are looking and they thought Trump was this outsider that was going to bring about real change. And he talked about things like getting us out of these endless wars, which you have brought up as was one of your campaign platforms. And here we see ourselves once again bombing the crud out of Iran, for potentially nuclear weapons. But I myself, I don't suffer from short-term memory loss. I remember weapons of mass destruction. I remember all these lies that were told to us to get into all these different foreign countries, and I'm just not about it. So there's a lot of frustration here on both sides. Yeah. What can we do about it?
I don't have short-term memory loss either. That's an interesting question on this current war against Iran. Look, I supported the president. I didn't support him in 2016 initially. I was a Ted Cruz guy, to the point where I gave Ted Cruz my statewide network contact, all my activists that I had gotten 210,000 plus votes with in 2014 across the state of Louisiana. And keep in mind, I'm an Air Force guy that wasn't born in Louisiana 2 years after he retired, and we were able to do that. That's pretty incredible, and it got the Republican establishment's attention. But as soon as Cruz dropped out, I had been looking at Trump and everything, and he was on the same platform that I was on, and that's why in August of that year, when we decided that Andy was going to leave our campaign, the guy that was my strategy consultant, my strategic guy, was connected to the Trumps somehow. He called him and said, "Hey, this guy, you should call him." And he got picked up in their war room because when we looked at Trump's positions, essentially I had run on that in 2013, 2014, and then again in 16, in 15, and 16. But so Andy fit right into that. And I mentioned Bannon was there too and got picked up on there. And they all fit in the same mold. So let's come up to today, and here's why I said I don't have memory loss either. Look, I was 17 in 1979 when I first put on the uniform, and the Iranians declared war on us. That's where I'm coming from. That this is a war that's been going on 47 years, and I don't have access to classified information. I was not real enthusiastic about getting into this. But if the president, but I have been in nuclear operations in the Pentagon on the Joint Staff until from 99 to 2002. So I've seen the facts that I can't really talk about specifics of, but I've seen enough facts to know that if the president had the information he said he had, then it's based on solid intelligence evidence. And I'm willing to give him the grace, because I don't see him as starting an endless war. I see him, just like with Ukraine, he's trying to end and endless war that the neocons really got us into. If you go back and look at the history of how the Ayatollah got into power in the first place, the neocons got us into this stuff. And I see this president as still trying to live by his campaign promises, which is no new endless wars, no endless war policy. I have done a lot of reading about the new national defense strategy that came out, and it drives away from endless war policy and goes back to the deterrence policy that President Reagan was able to make so successful in the 1980s that resulted in the fall of the Soviet Union, really, because of those policies. And I don't disagree with those because this leading, I was in the Pentagon on 9/11. I talk about that in the book. My after action report from that day is in the book as an appendix. This policy of endless warfare beyond our initial response, which I totally agreed with, against the Taliban and Al Qaeda, and to try to stay in Afghanistan and then go into Iraq and all that, those policies are the ones that this president ran against. I've ran against it, and I support him in that regard. And I'm willing to give him a little bit of grace because my background and what I do know about the facts on the enriched uranium, the desire to build nuclear weapons, those kind of things inside the government of that. And I know how viciously deadly the people that run that country are. And I think that's what the president's running into with this. He's trying to give them a break and not destroy the entire infrastructure. So the 90 million Iranians that don't want to kill us all, the population, have something to start with. And because of they're the way they are, the IRGC, which is who really runs the country, not the mullahs. The mullahs don't run the country. It's the IRGC that's running it. Have always been that way. Those people, unfortunately, the president is learning the lessons that a lot of us already know, especially in the profession of arms, against these people. Look, I did my first war planning against the Iranians as a captain, Air Force, and retired as a colonel. So a long time ago, we've been studying that problem set. So I'm willing to give him the grace on that, especially since he is trying to get them to the table and not completely destroy the country. But at some point, I'm also a military guy, and I'm an Air Force officer, as you mentioned, and I was a bomber squadron commander and came up in Strategic Air Command. Was one of the first colonels at Air Force Global Strike Command, the strategic command we recreated a few years ago before I retired. And I understand what it will take if we have to completely remove the ability of the IRGC to attack their neighbors, attack commercial shipping, and those kind of things. While I would like to see the president go ahead and go full bore and get this over with, I do appreciate his willingness to try to get him to the table to come to some type of negotiated agreement, because it takes really a lot of strength and courage to be able to do that when I know that his military advisors are telling him, hey, sir, we really should finish the entire target list and then try this. But he doesn't want to destroy all the infrastructure on behalf of the Iranian people either. So he's in a tough spot, and unfortunately, that's why I'm opposed to endless warfare. Is that war has a life of its own. Once you pull the trigger and you enter it in the way that this was done, at the level that it was done, it gets a life of its own.
So let me ask you another question that I'm observing in politics currently, and it really kind of centers around more of the younger generations. For a very long time, in America's policy, foreign policy, has always been to support the nation of Israel. As of late, especially with the younger people, there's a considerable pushback against that, and they do see it as part of this endless war campaign that oftentimes Israel will use us. Their words, Israel will use us to be that hammer. You pick on us, well, we got these guys behind us, and we'll get involved here. And that may be kind of like ugly terms there, but that, just kind of boiling it down to the nuts and bolts there. Do you see this as more disillusionment with the younger generations within the conservative movement with the nation of Israel, or do you see this as a danger or a risk for our foreign policy?
Well, there's a fallacy in that argument that the Israeli government shows its enemies, hey, look at the big guy behind me, because I have seen time and time again the Israelis make decisions to go into combat on their own behalf in their own vital national interest, where the United States was not involved militarily, other than to deliver the things that they purchased from us, from a logistics perspective. And we've seen that over the years. So the fallacy in the argument that the Israelis either always say, these guys are behind us, you better do what we say, or that they're pushing Donald Trump around. It's the word I would use is that's just really a little bit ridiculous. But here's one of the things that is going on, though, Caleb, with this issue, with issues like the data centers, and those kind of things. I'm on a group called the Committee on the Present Danger of China that was stood back up. Originally, it was called the Committee on the Present Danger Soviet Union, and the people in that group were advised President Reagan in his run-up to ending the Cold War, and actually some of them served in his administration. And I got asked to join this group because China has essentially declared unrestricted warfare on the United States, and their version of unrestricted warfare is primarily non-kinetic, surveillance, undercover operations, terrorism, those kind of things, and influence operations, what I call influence operations or propaganda operations, and those kind of things. And one of the things that we have found and talked about over the last 10 years, especially since we were, or 7 years since we were recreated, is the Chinese information operations and the infiltration of the United States of America. You may have heard the number 600,000 Chinese students in our universities. Well, that's low. That's low. That's a cap that the president came up with against our group's advice. I guarantee you there's a memo in writing from us that says there should be no Chinese students, because every Chinese student in this country is the People's Liberation Army or Chinese Communist Party asset. And they have influence over the younger age group primarily because of their presence on these universities. That is a lot of folks. And then you combine that with the extreme left-leaning, nearly, I would call them mostly Marxist left-leaning philosophies of most of the academia in this country, and it sets the table for a very effective information operation, influence campaign, and some of the I believe some of the more, I don't want to call them extreme, but the more aggressive beliefs are coming out of that. Now we have other enemies too. The Russians are pretty good on the internet side, but they're distracted right now.
And let me pause you real quick there, Colonel. We've hit that hard break here. So for the audience, we're going to come back. We're going to do another 15 minutes with our guest. Hey, this is Caleb Collier with Church and State. I'm here to tell you about Hunter's Blend Coffee. I got to tell you, I absolutely love this stuff. I'm all about the dark roast. Hunter's Blend Coffee, black powder. Doesn't that just sound like deliciousness and rebellion? I got to tell you, in America, we don't drink tea. No, we drink coffee. It's the food of the gods, and I endorse and support Hunter's Blend Coffee. Gotta tell you, it tastes like freedom. So I need you to go over to churchandstate.media, scroll to Hunter's Blend Coffee, and use the promo code Church and State to help support us. And when you go to huntersblendcoffee.com, not only will you be getting a great cup of coffee, but you also, if you use the promo code Church and State, be supporting Church and State and our dogged pursuit of truth. And we are back, and thank you for staying with us. You're over at churchandstate.media, and I'm going to go right back to my guest. But real quick, let me plug one of our awesome affiliates, and I'm thinking Mark37.com. We've been talking a lot about foreign policies, about endless wars. And my guest even brought up the data centers. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're concerned at all about your privacy, if you treasure the Fourth Amendment, for example, hey, go get yourself a Ghost phone or a Ghost laptop. The phones are running off of Graphene OS. It's the most private, secure operating system in the world. And computers, Linux has been around for 30-something years. It is the standard, industry standard for privacy and for security. So go check out mark37.com. Use the promo code Church and State. You'll get a discount, and you'll be helping to support us. And also, please hit the donate button one more time, please. It definitely helps us out, keeps conversations like this happening, and brings a new show for your delight every single day, Monday through Friday. All right, with that, let's go ahead and go back to our guest. We're talking with Colonel Rob Maness, and we're talking about, when we left off, he was talking about Russia here specifically, and how they're very good with, especially with their internet capabilities, their tech. But there's a lot of threats, obviously, with China, with Russia. We were also talking about Israel, and if foreign policy, the mindset for the youth in particular, is starting to change there. But please pick it back up, sir.
Yeah. So I was just going to roll in Russia and the fact that we are in kinetic operations, combat operations, at a level that hasn't been seen since World War II, really, against the Iranians. Russia and China are their allies. So just like we are, I'm just going to say it out loud. Look, the Ukrainians wouldn't be doing anything without United States military and intelligence support, and our defense industrial base and those kind of things. So we know we have provided them intelligence information, targeting information. So it's a valid assumption, even without access to classified information. It's a valid position that the Russians and the Chinese are helping the Russians or the Iranians. So I only say that to just say there's a lot going on, and I was going to go into the data center thing just for a second because I've been worried about data centers for a very, very long time, and a lot of other people have too, long before this most recent bump up in information, and that bump up in information and bump up in people getting angry about it. I think there's probably influence and propaganda operations from our adversaries linked to some of that too. That's how it works. They do it over time, nuanced. But the first massive data center that I knew about that was being built that I'm still upset about was back. You remember back when there was the big debate in Washington was about the metadata from your cell phones all going to be collected. Well, that data center, guess where it's at? It's in Utah. Mm-hmm. It's out in Utah. And the reason why nobody got upset about it is because the issues that they're seeing now with all these new ones that are being built, and believe me, there are a lot of data centers around that people aren't aware of in their communities, in their towns, out in the countryside that already
Your
exist.
cell phone is a data center.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to that yet. But anyway, the reason it didn't get anybody's attention, even though I'm out there as a person that believes in liberty in this declaration we're celebrating this year, and the Constitution behind it, and the Fourth Amendment, for goodness sake, I'm out there going, we're building a data center that's sponsored by the U.S. government, that's going to be operated by the U.S. government, and it's one big violation of the Fourth Amendment. That's all it is. You remember they kept saying, well, it's just metadata. They're not going to be able to identify you. That was and is always baloney, and it takes a lot of power. It takes water and those kind of things. But nobody in the out in the hinterlands out here that's upset now. I couldn't get anybody to like latch onto that in my discussions. I talked about it in my political campaigns because I was concerned about it, but it really didn't fire anybody up. And I'm like, wow, guys. So I'm in a sense, I'm glad to see people are fired up. I want to make sure they're fired up about the right things. There are ways that, and go back to the title of my book, what you can do about it. The data centers are already here, number one. Number two, the larger ones that are now being built, I won't say they're inevitable, but somebody's probably going to build them until Musk figures out how to put these things in orbit, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Which I believe he will do. Every time he said he was going to do something, eventually he gets to. gets it done. But my point is, water, power, and the regulatory aspects of that. And I'm not a regulation guy, but sometimes, like with artificial intelligence, this kind of stuff, the people have to have their say. And the only way to do that is to start at the local and state level through local and state governments, and interacting with the civilian corporations that want to do this, and the government that needs to be involved, and they need to be listening to the people that live and own and work on the ground that they're talking about, and that's what I'm concerned about. Is that there's a push to not allow local and state regulation of these data centers or of artificial intelligence. Those two things, and I think like here in our state in Mississippi, there is state level guidance and local level guidance going on, but still people are upset. But what they really ought to be upset is the violation of their Fourth Amendment rights if the government's involved in that. And in the regulatory part of it, we should be looking at legislation at the state level that says, no, there will be no government involvement in these data centers. You'll have to have a warrant to get any data.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
That's the part. That's the part that people ought to be up in arms about. That's just my opinion. More than the water, the power. But those are very important things that should be handled. It shouldn't even be a debate, Caleb, from the government folks that I see and corporate folks pushing back on the people that want this discussion to happen and want their say in this, because it's wrong to force something on a community that, especially if they've come together and decided they don't want it. So America's a big place, man. Go find it somewhere else. If you got a community that's telling you we don't want it here, we need to be, not just me, but those people need to be listened to, because this is America, and this book is written for them. They're doing exactly what I want them to do, which is do something about it at the local lowest level possible, and that'll have national impact.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
you're
that's where I
starting to
was
see
going.
that communities are coming together in opposition to these data centers. You know, out where I'm at in Spokane, Washington, they want to put one of these large data centers here, and there's been a massive amount of opposition. I've been a part of it to push back against this, and we did get a 1-year moratorium on that from our city council. But man, they keep pushing. I'm actually very encouraged by the amount of people with their opposition to the flock cameras and how they're putting so much pressure on the local jurisdictions, the local government, and a lot of them are starting to listen, and they're pulling these things down. We have individual citizens that are engaging in activities that I won't promote on this show as far as the flock cameras go. Enough said there. Yeah,
I got it.
But yeah, I mean, there is opposition to this, and there should be, because we should not be living in a surveillance state.
Yeah, exactly right. Show me what those things can do that you think they are going to actually do, and I will show you how wrong you are, and the harm that they're going to do primarily. I just found out we had a gathering with some friends of ours, and one of my friends' husband is really into this kind of stuff, and the flock camera came up, and he pulled up a website. It's called deflock.org, I think. And he said, "Hey, Rob, you have a flock camera right down the street that I wasn't aware of." So, we're going to talk about that at the local level. And I'm going to go out and talk to folks. I'm sure there's already a group organized. I'm going to go talk to them and see what's going on and see what they know. And then we're going to go talk to the government, because I don't remember voting on anything that would allow flock cameras to be set up wherever the government wants them to be to monitor, or any rules on what they monitor or can monitor or should monitor. Sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So returning back to your book and that premise, this is a great example of something that you can do. And I have talked about this on the show quite a lot, encouraging people to really operate at that local level, because we tend to keep our eyes on what's going on at the federal level. Well, we're not going to be all that effective. All right. Yes, we can do some things. But at that local level, this is where you're really going to be able to band with like-minded individuals and bring about real positive change for your community.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I go back to the Crockett example because that's where I'm from. And one of the things that formed me, one of the ideas that formed me, is that we wouldn't have a Republic of Texas had he not said, "What can I do about it?" After losing dramatically and overwhelmingly many times in his life, he became aware of a problem out in Texas and got his friends together that were like-minded and said, "We're going to go help do something about this." That is the reason why America it still exists today, is because we have people willing to do that. Thanks for pointing that out about the federal level. Look, that makes all the news, but man, Caleb, the war, the way to achieve victory, it's at the state and local legislature and government levels. It's not at the federal. The federal government it's not uncontrollable totally, but it's a problem set all its own that we elect people to try to go up there and deal with. And at the local level, you better darn sure be questioning your candidates, whether they're incumbents or not, especially on the Republican side, on what they're actually going to do when they get up there to dismantle this thing. Because if we don't dismantle that, it doesn't matter what the parchments say, it's going to continue to spiral out of control, and it is out of control. I just published an article last week in the Daily Caller about James O'Keefe's hit surveillance piece on the career federal employee that said, "Hey, we're still going to be here when Trump leaves. We're just going to reverse everything." Well, that's not an aberration. Mm-hmm. Those resistors are in the federal bureaucracy at all levels, and the last institution they took over and infiltrated was the Department of War, Department of Defense, if you want to stick with that. And that's my department. That's my institution that I have a responsibility to fix when I see it. That's why I got the article published. But I have personal experience that says that O'Keefe's accurate and that this is not a one-off. And we've got to address that as the American people, because the American people don't support that. And that type of person working in the civil service here's what it is. They are not obeying the will of the American people. Look, Joe Biden was able to get the oath of office to the presidency done. And if I was working in the federal government and tried to be a resistor, I would be wrong, because I would be obstructing the Constitution of the United States for doing that. Now, trying to give the right advice, and present the right argument, that's, if it was part of my job, that absolutely I should do. But to purposely obstruct the implementation of the guy's policies, if they're lawful, if they're not lawful, to bring it up, highlight it, and resign if necessary very loudly to try to stop it, those are all valid things. But to stay in the job and resist just because you don't like the policies of the guy or the name of the guy that's the president of the United States, that's obstructing the will of the American people and the Constitution itself. And they all take an oath to that, just like military people do. So and I pointed out the Department of War for a reason. That's the last institution that Marxists take over before they're able to take the entire nation when they take a nation, is that institution. And so it's a challenge that's got to be fixed. We've got to address it. We are at that point. That's where we're at.
So I want to bring up your website. We're winding down towards the end of the show here, and Chris will bring that up for the audience, but it's pretty easy, robmaness.com. You can see the website. It's a fantastic website. There's a lot of information on here, a lot of articles, a lot of different interviews that you've done. But, just a minute long here. Tell people why they should go to the website and start listening to your show.
Sorry, Caleb.
Do we have it? Yeah. Sorry. I was just asking you to tell people why they should go to your website.
Yeah, had a little freeze frame there. You can go to robmaness.com for a couple reasons. We are publishing a lot on the defense issue right now because I think the American people need to have a place that's outside of the corporate media to go and look at things. And you can email me if you have a question about an article. I didn't write them all. We're publishing from some defense websites because we want the American people to have a site they can go to. And if they have a question, you can email me through that site. And I do answer those emails. Also, go there to catch all of my shows. You can catch it live. There's a live web page, but if you can't catch it live, we do a post-production version and try to get that posted within 24 hours. Did a great show this week. You're showing Joshua Lysick, who helped me write my book and wrote the foreword for my book, by the way. He and Jack Posobiec are New York Times best-selling authors, but we are of like mind. And we did this show on the Haitian invasion of Ohio to tell the truth about what really is happening there, because you're being lied to. That's the main reason is you think you're being lied to. This is a site that has defense information. It has I cover from culture, politics, defense, foreign policy, the intelligence agencies, those kind of things on the site. Articles that I get published in other publications, I try to get posted on this site for print article purposes and those kind of things. You're scrolling past that Pete Hegseth picture. That article has almost 800,000 views on X, by the way, which is the largest one, I think, article-wise that I've ever had on X. So if you want to know what a career military officer that's commanded several times, that was in combat and peace, thinks about things like that, if I wrote an article on there, that's what I'm thinking about. And we need more people to understand military officers, especially senior ones, and what they're thinking about, not just national security, but also the culture, the political environment, those kinds of things, because the corporate media, the vaunted free press, we are the free press now. And I never thought I'd be saying that in a serious nature, but we are. So I have guys like the CEO of CDM Press, L. Todd Wood, on there. He's a retired Air Force special
I know
helicopter
Todd. He's
pilot.
a good man.
You know Todd. I have him on regularly, especially on Mondays. Monday is More War Monday on my show to talk about not just what's going on in the combat operations, and we try to bring people on to tell the truth, but also what we think should be happening or shouldn't be happening, and that's why I have guys like Todd on and those kind of things.
Well,
and you can buy the book there. You can buy the book, and there's a bonus chapter page for free. You just sign up, and you can download the bonus chapter. And the bonus chapter is important because it talks about canceling your own cancellation. Because, as you know, when you're in this arena, whether it's political, public, or whatever, there are people out there, especially those that have power right now, that want to maintain the status quo and their power. They're going to try to cancel you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're actually gone a little bit over, but that's all right. I want people to go buy the book, What You Can Do About It. You can find that at robmaness.com. Go check out the website, ladies and gentlemen. Colonel, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. If you hold on one more minute post-production to say our goodbyes, I'd appreciate it. But again, thank you for your work and for joining us on Church and State.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. A fantastic perspective, one that I am definitely for. What you can do about it. Start getting involved and start focusing on those local issues where you can be really effective. Church and State is brought to you in part by Colonial Life Spokane Independent Agents, Finders Insurance, and Mark37.com. I'm Caleb Collier. I was born for a storm.
Welcome to the fire.
Hey, this is Caleb Collier with Church and State, and I want to tell you about Patriot Pouch. Look, if you're one of these individuals that's interested in nicotine and potentially the health benefits from it, but you're concerned about some of the side effects, Patriot Pouch might be your answer. This is a company that uses nixidine instead of nicotine. It hits the same nicotine receptors in your brain, but without those side effects like elevated heart rate or elevated blood pressure. So if you want the health benefits of nicotine without nicotine, Patriot Pouch may be the company for you. I need you to go to patriotpouchusa.com. Use the promo code Church and State. You'll get a great nicotine replacement, and you'll be helping to support Church and State and everything that we do here. And remember, when you go to patriotpouchusa.com, not only are you supporting a Christian patriot business owner, but you're helping to support Church and State. Hey, this is Caleb Collier with Church and State, and I want to tell you about methylene blue. For a long time now, you've seen the Maha people using methylene blue. I thought I'd give it a try. You know what? It helped me considerably, not only with mental clarity, but also with insomnia. Now, you got to be careful with methylene blue because the market is filled with counterfeit products. But Best 365 Labs is the greatest methylene blue on the market. I'm telling you, take this stuff, enjoy the benefits, and it'll also have a little bit of fun when going to the bathroom. I need you to go to best365labs.com and use that promo code Church and State. You're going to get a discount. You'll also be helping to support Church and State and our pursuit of truth. Hey, this is Caleb Collier with Church and State, and I want to tell you about a great product, Liberty Cigars. I know for myself, there's nothing grander than sitting around a campfire, having a great theology discussion with a group of men while smoking a cigar. That's why I love Liberty Cigars. Every cigar has a story to tell. Not only are you going to be smoking the finest cigars on the market, but you're also going to get a history lesson with every single one of them. From George Washington to Thomas Jefferson, the heroes of the American Revolution, generals, presidents throughout history. I'm telling you, I absolutely love Liberty Cigars. I need you to go to libertycigars.com, use that promo code Church and State. You'll get a discount, and you'll also be helping to support Church and State with everything that we do.